The Egregors are mysterious creatures that have surpassed the limits of reason and even mastered resurrection. The mystery of life and death is one of the most complex, exciting for modern society, and up to now, no scientist confidently can say whether a person has a soul and what adventures we can expect after death. But let's take a look at the situation from the standpoint of alternative versions of history. If we accept the fact that the true old gods, ancient egregors, or spirits may not be some mythical creatures, but just another intelligent species with a more developed level of consciousness than humanity in the old days, then the illustrations from the Prometheus movie can be called the most ideal visualization option possible. According to alternative versions of history, this species helped humanity to artificially raise the level of consciousness to a certain level, perhaps in its own image and likeness. There's often a misconception that the ancient egregors created man, but as we understand from research on this particular topic of real history, they only helped humans to develop. There's a belief that ancient gods and people are one biological species. Mixed marriages, quote unquote, between the people and the gods of the skies constantly took place. As a result, quite healthy children of God were born. The difference lies in the amount of knowledge they possessed and in the possession of the gods by some advanced technology, which is currently unsurprising to anyone. As a species, we appeared earlier, but our level of consciousness fully corresponded to other forms of living organisms on Earth, and after that, representatives of a mysterious civilization appeared, and through genetic engineering, finalized our species to such a state that we violated the entire balance of the planet with our mere existence. If there were no highly developed civilizations on Earth long before us, then we upset the balance that had been maintained before for a couple of billion years. When the first people that with a developed consciousness appeared, it was natural that the alien race was some form of gods for them. There is a vague suspicion that that civilization can be considered gods in our time, but let's digress from the topic and let's go back to the issues of life and death. Those who have surpassed even death. In some myths about ancient gods or egregors, there are references to how the gods die and are resurrected. A good example of this is the myth of Osiris, who was generally collected piece by piece, and it would seem, but these are just myths, why take them in such a literal sense? Since we're talking about the reality of the gods, when the situation in myths may turn out to be not mere inventions, but information based on real events. Moreover, the scriptures of one of the most popular religions describe the direct resurrection of Jesus in the flesh. There is no presumption in talk about the secrets of Christianity, but can assume that the civilization of the egregors is still watching over us and sent a representative here 2,000 years ago to guide people on the true path and give commandments for life and resurrection. But notice first Osiris, then Jesus, and then you can find controversial references and myths about descents into the underworld or heavenly kingdoms of individual gods, which also implies death and birth. And based on these data, we can make a bold assumption that the civilization of the ancient egregors has reached such an unthinkable level of development which allows them to return the souls of dead colleagues and relatives. Perhaps not every representative of an unknown civilization can do this, but the very fact of such a possibility is amazing, and that's not all. In addition to resurrection, we would like to single out the achievement of longevity. Not only in the Bible, but also in the Sumerian kings' legends and myths, we see that even earlier, people could afford to live not for a maximum of 100 years, but for a whole 1,000 years. So how long could representatives of the civilization of the gods live then? If we assume that they have achieved biological immortality, and given the possibility of resurrection, the potential of their race is limitless. Of course, this was before the Great Flood, when a lot of things changed. It looks like our atmosphere has become different from what it was that time. Now, there is an interesting point even in myths. The resurrection process was not simple, and was used extremely rarely and only in extreme cases, which, by the way, is suspicious for myths. If this is fiction, then why couldn't God always be resurrected? After all, you can come up with anything, but here there are some incomprehensible difficulties, which is strange. Perhaps that resurrection, although it was possible for the Egregors, but even they had to pay a high price for it. It's frightening to imagine that if this price is terrible for them, then for us it would be probably unattainable. You can also resurrect in different ways. For example, if you adhere to the theory of a multivariant universe, then there's always a world where you are alive, but otherwise there is exactly the same as here. We go there, grab it and drag it here, voila, you're resurrected. With the metamorphosis taking place with the higher races, one must also take into account the multidimensionality of time. Space and time have 3 dimensions. This is a fact that will soon be officially recognized. In any case, if we ever find out that the resurrection is real, then this will radically change our civilization and the very idea of life, because it can receive a certain price category. This is on Soul Ask. Please leave your comments. Thank you for your support. Finally, support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.